all aboard for disappointment. This is Veteran Game, and today we're jumping straight into the chaos that is Battle Train, a game that answers the question: what if Slay the Spire crashed headfirst into Thomas the Tank Engine on acid? If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe for deep dives and real talk about games you're actually thinking about playing. Because let's face it, most review outlets are still lost at the station. So let's talk about Battle Train. On paper, this thing sounds amazing. Deck building, roguelike progression, actual train combat, a wacky game show vibe, and the promise of battles so explosive even Michael Bay would say, okay, chill. I mean, trains as weapons, decks of cards as your arsenal, a parade of ridiculous characters and villains with names like President Conductor Alvado, Duke of Demolition. I was already planning my hot take about sleeper hits before I'd even finished installing it. Here's the honest truth: Battle Train starts strong. The first few hours are everything you could want from a new twist on the deck builder genre. You pick your contestant, each with their own starting deck and special powers, then get thrown onto a branching map full of boss fights, shops, events, and, of course, random nonsense that's practically required in any modern roguelike. Every match is a tense little chess game where you're racing to lay down track, build up resources, connect to your opponent's depot, and if you're lucky, drop a payload that explodes half the board. The way the tracks physically connect across the battlefield, with the risk of your enemy hijacking your perfect path, is honestly brilliant. When the pieces fall your way, you feel like a tactical mastermind, and yet, the more you play, the more it all just comes off the rails. Battle Train is obsessed with its story, like way more than it should be for a genre built around just one more run. You're not just here to build busted decks and break the game's rules. You're here to unlock a drip feed of cutscenes that pretend to be a documentary about a game show gone wrong. There's President Alvado, a German megalomaniac with the personality of a Bond villain and the social skills of a C-tier streamer. There's Hank, the flustered host. There's a producer named Joyce who spends most of her time trying not to lose her mind. Even the rival show is a gag, a kids program starring Todrick the Talking Turtle. I wish I was making this up, but this is literally what you're playing for. More skits, more gags, more wacky office-style interviews. Here's the kicker: you can't actually finish the game until you've seen all these cutscenes. Progress is gated by story nodes on the map. Hit the node, watch a scene, and only after enough of these will you even get the right to challenge the big bad. So forget that classic roguelike thrill of can I get to the end this time? You can't. Doesn't matter how good your deck is or how smart you play. Progress is only measured by how many times you've watched the dev's attempt at Netflix comedy. You know what that means. If you're min-maxing, and let's be honest, every roguelike player eventually does, it's actually most efficient to throw yourself at the first story node, then purposely die to the boss just to unlock the next scene and try again. That's not gameplay. That's grinding through a streaming service menu disguised as a video game. And it gets old fast. What starts as a wild creative roguelike becomes a chore. The maps don't change enough. The bosses are quirky but shallow. There's a pile of cards to collect and new train pieces to unlock. But the novelty wears off way before the story finally lets you see the ending. For a genre built on replayability and surprise, Battle Train feels like it's doing everything possible to kill your momentum. The gameplay itself is actually solid, when you're not being railroaded by the story gates. Every match is a dance between offense and defense, laying down tracks, timing bombs, building up minerals, and choosing when to risk connecting your network to the enemies for a shortcut, or a disaster. Sneaky plays and sudden reversals are the highlight here, and the basic mechanics feel both fresh and satisfying. Seriously, when this game lets you just play, it's fun, but the frustration creeps in. You can't surrender or forfeit a doomed run, so if you're boxed in by bad luck or a terrible draw, you're forced to play it out to the bitter end, or just turn the game off and lose your progress. There are quality of life problems everywhere, from no undo on accidental end turns, to slow, sluggish menus, and performance dips that make late-game battles hitch and stutter like the world's worst rail yard. The collection menu, sometimes takes half a minute to load. The more chaos on the board, the more your Switch starts to sweat. If you're on PC, things are smoother, but even there, some of the interface just isn't as you'd hope from a 2025 release. There's also no way to play PvP, no friendly matches, no leaderboard climbing with friends, nothing. It's single player or bust, so that endless competition feeling never really materializes. Let's talk about the writing too. Battle Train wants to be funny, sometimes it is. More often it's just loud. The villain says villain stuff. The pirate guy says pirate stuff. The turtle wants hugs. The punchlines are predictable, and the confessionals feel like outtakes from a show that got cancelled after one season. I found myself mashing through scenes, praying for a joke that didn't feel like AI-generated improv. Maybe that's harsh, but I'm a gamer, not a laugh track. The deck building itself is the one thing that actually delivers. If you love cards and combos, there's a ton to experiment with: special attacks, sabotage moves, weird upgrades, and lots of ways to break the rules if you know what you're doing. Some matches turn into tense, sweaty duels where a single play decides the outcome, and when you pull off a perfect win, it feels great. But it's buried under layers of forced story, pacing issues, and design choices that just don't respect your time. I clocked around 15 hours before I finished the main campaign, or at least unlocked enough story scenes to see the ending. By then, I'd fought the same bosses a dozen times, seen all the best cards, and was mostly just grinding for cutscenes. Compared to the hundreds of hours I've sunk into Slay the Spire or Monster Train, Battle Train just couldn't keep me coming back. So should you hop on board? If you're a die-hard deck builder fan, Battle Train is worth a look just for the sheer novelty and some genuinely cool mechanics. If you can tolerate a mediocre story and don't mind slow pacing, there's fun to be had, especially if you're dying for something new in the genre. But if you value replayability, challenge, or just want a roguelike that lets you, actually beat it based on skill, this is not your ticket. For everyone else, this is a game best left at the station until it gets a few patches. Or, let's be real, until the next deck builder hits Steam and blows it out of the water. The core idea is strong, the execution is just all over the tracks. So that's the review. If you made it this far, drop a comment below. What's the weirdest deck builder concept you've ever played? Smash like if you've ever rage quit a roguelike, and subscribe to Veteran Game for more deep dives, hot takes, and the honest reviews you deserve. Until next time, keep your cards close and your trains on the rails.